the voice of Nigerians there expressing their dissatisfaction on the power supply they get from the agencies. Now joining us from Abuja is former chairman, Nigeria Electricity Regulatory Commission, Sam Amadi. It's good to have you join us this morning, Sam.
Still being wired there. That's understandable.
Good morning.
All right, good morning. Now, let us get the issues clear. Nigerians have been complaining and complaining. In fact, no one in Nigeria would say, I have gotten light constantly and satisfactorily for maybe 1 week running. Not even in Abuja, as the case may be. I know you are in Abuja. What is really the foundational problem? Is it the grid system we run, or is it policy based on policies, or is it just corruption? Give us that overview first before we go into the technicalities.
Well, I think it's basically three-pronged problem. One, capacity. Like you said, you don't have the product. If you don't have the product, you are constrained. Secondly, just like any other product, you need a distribution network that is good. So if you have limited bread in Lagos, in Agege, let's say 30,000 loaves of bread, and you have 100 million or 50 million people, that's a problem. Then if you don't have a distribution network, the bread doesn't get to where it's needed, that's another problem. And thirdly, you need to have a sustainable commercial framework, the pricing, the collection of revenue by the bread seller so that the production continues. So that's the third problem. So essentially, it's a problem of capacity in terms of supply. Where is the product? We have limited available generation. We have limited available transmission capability. Secondly, it's a question of policy framework. What's the policy that will ensure a smooth delivery or logistic process in terms of goods? And like I said, thirdly, the market has to be properly designed, and sometimes theory is different from reality. So this is essentially the same problem being recycled, perhaps in a much graver way.
The promise to explore other alternative sources of power or energy like coal, solar, hydro, biomass, and all of that. What really have been the major challenges in exploring these other alternatives?
Well, I think there's some appreciable achievement in that regard. Before we left also, we had licensed many solar plants. We've licensed some hydros, some wind farms. But essentially, there are three related problems. First is that even though solar is renewable, efficient, green, perhaps takes shorter lifespan to execute, you still need financing. And so many of the solar developers would need financing. And oftentimes they don't have that financing because for now, solar electricity or any other renewable solar largely is still more expensive than thermal electricity from the thermal plant. So you need good financing. Secondly, of course, some of these solar plants are also small, at best, modular plants. They are not yet of the capacity to run big load base. So we're not expecting a solar plant to be 1,000 megawatts or 500 megawatts for now. So most of them are small, 100 megawatts in different stages. So they are ongoing. The NEC has licensed many of them. They are developing their projects, their financing. They are able to close their financing and go to project development, but it will take some time. There's always a gap between when you conceive a power project or a power policy and when you begin to reap the result. And therefore, that time lag constitutes some sort of nuisance. So people think the policy is not working. But in terms of the shift towards renewable energy, it will be gradual, it will be incremental. It will be incremental, not just a discontinuity. We have to optimize the value from gas, from big hydro, and coal. And I think before I left NEC up to now, they are ramping up capacity in those various energy sources.
You talked about financing, but I'll ask a question after we bring in Foladele to give us an update on social media, what Nigerians are saying. when it comes to the power supply.
Oh,
Fuller, good
they are
morning.
saying a lot. Good morning, Mike. Good morning, Ngozi. Good morning, Sam. Nigerians are saying a lot, believe me, of course. This is something that, as you can imagine, we're always talking about because it's gone on for so long and people are like, why is there still no electricity? Of course, we had people talk earlier, so it's time to find out what people are saying online. Sweet says, talk is cheap at Tunde Fashola. He said some years ago that a responsible government should be able to fix light problems in 6 months, 2 years gone. Funky Zulu says the electricity issue in Nigeria is a human rights fight. It can no longer be ignored. Joe Baba 90 says power sector in Nigeria needs re-engineering. The laws, business model governing the sector need to be looked into for better results. Biliki says power sector in Nigeria is apparently very complex. We need a Superman/Catwoman like minister to fix it. Kemi Rio says fix electricity, business setup will increase, job creation, investors will rush in, naira value will appreciate, food will sell cheaper. The next one here and the last one actually, from Kule Adelabu, who says, nobody will fix electricity. It's complicated. People should boycott discos and face reality that there is no power in Nigeria. Oh, wow.
If we were to boycott discos, what would happen?
What would happen?
Well, it's just making conclusions that there's no power in Nigeria.
Yes. Okay, so Sam, everyone seems to be alluding to the fact that the issue of power, or shall I say electricity in this case, is very complex and we need a Superman or Catwoman-like minister to fix it. What do you think about that tweet?
Well, a Superman or a Catwoman would do well for us. But the primary thing is we need to recognize that power development is iterative. All over the world, power has evolved. If you look at the grid in developed countries, it's taken 100 years to evolve. We have two major problems. First, the model we are running, the way we privatize, is different from the way it happened in, say, UK. In the UK, they had capacity, they had surplus, they had supply, they had enough energy, but it was inefficiently managed, it was expensive, the factor productivity, what economists would call factor productivity, was very low. So there was need for efficiency, and so Thatcher moved to privatize most of those infrastructure services, not because of lack of availability, but because inefficiently supplied. But in Nigeria, we had a double whammy. We have no supply, we have inefficiency. So once government privatize or liberalize, the assumption is that the private market will supply quick financing to get these products in. And therefore, all you need to do is to fix the tariff, clear the regulatory risk so that investors will be motivated and incentivized to come and invest. But the long story is, if you look at research all over the world, the private market was overbuilt, overpraised. Today, we have not seen that degree of private market rushing to Nigeria. We've not seen that degree of quick closure of financing. We've not seen that degree of quick development of projects. So we have about 30,000, 40,000 megawatts of license, but they're not producing. That's one problem. The second problem is project development. We have NIPP. If you have been efficient and less corrupt in award of contract for NIPP in the last 5-10 years, perhaps today would have ramped up the 4,700 megawatts. The second phase would have been completed, and NIPP, great idea, would have given us 10,000 megawatts. And with a 10,000 plus potential 6,000 megawatts, you'll be a 12 to 16,000 megawatts of electricity market. The regulation will make sense. So our problem is two-sided. One is our model. We rushed privatization. We didn't take precaution. We assumed that the market will work itself right, and it didn't work. Two, corruption and lack of capacity in project management affected the delivery of capacity in NIPP. And so most of our projects are stranded. Look at the fact that we have some power plants without gas. Gas is not available because we didn't plan well to develop those capacities. And so those mistakes of the past, we need some time to be addressed. And I think what the government should have done and should do is continue, and then you revise at the margin, because power sector is stuck. It's stuck in the ground. You don't just uproot and discontinue. It's not a place to bring policies and you run them, in a radical way. It's a place where you realistically and smartly look at what's working, turn it up, remove some, upgrade, downgrade. So it's a process of iteration. It's evolutionary. It's not a place for a cartoon or a superman. It's a place for rethinking, smart thinking, but consistent thinking. Iterative, one by one, step by step, and then you build a robust power sector. And I think
that's the way to go.
Thank you so much, Fola.
Thank
you very much. All right, Sam, we thank you for joining us this morning on the program. Sam Amadi is the former chairman, Nigeria Electricity Regulatory Commission. Thank you for talking to us this morning.